This will maybe count for one of them. So I do a lot of these speaking engagements. And the only reason I got into my PhD is because my wife has her PhD. She graduated. And I'm shallow, you all. She's smart, she's fine, and I didn't want her holding it over my head. So I enrolled. But today, I want to thank you all because, Josh, how much time we have? Because I'll turn into a Baptist preacher and we'll be here all day.
We have until 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. All right, good.
5 minutes. Yeah.
When we get close to 1, if you just give me some a flash or something like that nature. So a little bit about me before we get into it, and what I want to talk to you all about really is about adversity to achievement, and also some qualities of leadership. And what I've learned is that at any point in time, we're going through 3 stages. Either you have just come out of some crap, you're in some crap now, or you will be going into some crap. And so what I've learned over the years of being a former stockbroker, portfolio manager, a banker, a Wisconsin legislator, written some books. I do a podcast now. I'm also a co-host of a radio program. And the reason why I can do all this stuff is because my wife, Latasha, and I, we don't have kids. And so I'm able to do a lot of this stuff. But what I've learned is that some of these things all have a lot of things in common when you're dealing with adversity. And how do you get through those things, whether it's in politics, regardless of what you do, how do you get through some of this stuff? And how do you deal with it? And we'll touch on a phrase I coined, thankful leadership. And so today I want to talk to you a little bit about 2 instrumental moments in my life that really brought me to where I'm at now and has sort of set the stage as to where I'm going. So this was me. This year I'll be 10 years sober. And thank you. And I'll tell you, addiction is, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And I want to describe to you sort of what led up to that. When I was a state legislator and I got into politics and Wisconsin politics after managing some campaigns, running for congressman, people who ran for governor, I got what we say in politics bit by the buck. And so I ran and won. And quite honestly, this is not a cocky thing. I knew I was going to win, but I was afraid. And here's why I was afraid. Not because of that I would win, but what do you do once you win? That's the problem. That's what happens once you get past the campaign and all that stuff. That the campaign is light work. Will you be an effective politician or legislator, or will you be like the rest of these knuckleheads who get in there and then forget why they got there and forget who they represent and get caught up in this us versus them, when at the end of the day nobody cares about what you know if they don't feel like you actually care about them as a person. And so I got into all this stuff, and after a while, this whole Democrat versus Republican, it was all facetious, cocky nonsense. Because most of these people, when you take the cameras off, actually like each other. Most of these people actually agree with each other. It's not until the money and the power and the influence start affecting and touching people where you start to see the garbage that comes in politics. So I started drinking, and drinking was, it started out as being fun. I'm from Wisconsin. It's what we do. You know, beer, cheese, alcohol. It's what we do. In fact, if you're in the Midwest, you've all seen it. If I say to someone, no, I don't drink, they literally look at me like, what is wrong with you that you don't drink? And so it started out being fun. But then it moved to, okay, I'm gonna wake up, I gotta go deal with some crap. Let me have some alcohol to just take the edge off. And then it moved to, okay, now my body physically needs alcohol. Because after a while, if you don't drink, your body gets so used to it, it literally changes your brain, your body, your chemical makeup. It literally changes your DNA to, if you don't have it, you start suffering from withdrawals and things of that nature. And the biggest fear of addicts is having to deal with withdrawal. And what I had been on the 40 under 40, I had been a young stockbroker. I didn't have any kids out of wedlock. I went to school. I did what my parents, who are still married, said, Jason, you should do. But then I was struck with depression, mild depression. And as a person like me, you're like, why me? How did I get here? And I kept asking God, what is it? What did I do? And why am I here? And all I kept hearing God say was, and when I say hear God say, I don't mean figuratively. I mean, I have this impression that my grace is sufficient enough for me. And so I'm drinking, and I know I'm smart, you all. I know I played by the rules. I mean, I had a lot of troubles as teenagers. We all go through that stuff. But I did what I was supposed to do. And here I am killing myself. And I can't stop. I know, what's your name, sir? Mike, I know that if I pour that vodka, I know I'm killing myself, man. But I can't stop, Mike. And it got to a point where my entire life revolved around either drinking, thinking about when I'm going to drink, or thinking about when was the last time I had a drink. I'm drinking to deal with everything. I lost a position after I got out of politics. I lost to a good kid now, his good friend. I say kid because I'm older than him, but he ran for office against me. He won. And it was the first time in my life where I really didn't care about politics anymore because I was so disgusted with all of it, with the madness, with the nonsense. And I got promoted to be the regional director of an educational organization. I had an office in downtown Milwaukee, high up on the sky, on the top floor, overlooking the lake and all this stuff. I was making $9,000, which is decent money for a single young guy. And after taxes, and the alcohol took all of that away. I lost all of that. Lost my house that I had, both cars, lost everything. And for me, it was, how on God's green earth did I get into this position? And what do I need to do to get out of it? Knowing that either I'm going to die or something has to change. And my brother said to me, he said, Jay, you got to find something that you love more than you love drinking. And I mean, at the time he said that, I didn't really know what it was. I mean, politics was all I was. Let me tell you how bad politically it got. Because I want to put in a reference for you, the mindset of where I was going. My niece was sitting on the porch with some of her friends, my brother's oldest child. Some people came around and they shot at these people. Mistaken identity, wrong people. My niece's best friend was murdered. She was shot in the back, my niece. Now my family calls me, and one, they don't like to call me, I don't know what it is, they just don't like to upset me, but they call me. And here's where I knew I have some issues with where I'm going in my mindset. I'm on my way to the accident to see how my niece is doing. And this is the first thought out of my head. How will this play out politically? That was the first thought. One day my niece got shot. One that it was, how is this going to play out politically? In hindsight, as I'm thinking about it, I'm going, what the hell is wrong with you where that's the first thought that comes out of your head? How can you leverage this situation? And as you start to change, I'm drinking more because now I'm not even happy with myself. I'm like, I'm turning into something that this is not what my mother and father raised. And I'm doing this stuff. And I'm spending maybe $500 a month on vodka. this was my routine. I'd wake up, and I used to say, you know, I'm sure you have them. You all seen them somewhere. These folks and these people, they get up early in the morning. They're walking the streets, and I used to wonder growing up, who are these people? Why are they there? And then I became one of those people. I get up in the morning because I can't sleep, so I wake up 6 a.m. and I'm thinking about drinking. Find a liquor store, they'll find a bar that's opening up at 6 a.m. and then I drink. I go in there, drink. On my way home from that bar, I go to the liquor store to buy 2 pints or a bottle of liter of vodka so that I can go home and continue the drinking. And then I'm calculating, okay, I know I'm going to wake up at 1 or 2 a.m. because the alcohol will wear off, so I'll need to drink some more just to go to sleep. So now I'm self-medicating. I did that, and then one day I hopped into a van and went over, at the time, an ex-girlfriend's house. I was driving. I crashed. I blacked out and I crashed. I don't have any insurance. I've lost my house. I lost my car. I'm living with my mother and father again. I'm 30 something, 40 years old. I'm living with my parents again. And this is no cakewalk for them. And when you do this stuff, what my father said was, Jay, these things just don't affect you. Now I know all this stuff in my head, but when your body is chemically and physically changing, when you're emotionally, spiritually, and physically going through stuff, and it's worse when it's all three of those, right? If you're physically going through something, okay. If you're mentally going through something, okay. If you're spiritually going through something, okay. But when it's all three, that's a problem. Not that the others aren't, but it's a perfect trifecta. It's a perfect storm. And I'm going through all of this stuff, and I broke 3 ribs. I fractured my nose. The police come. Now, I'm a former politician, and they come and arrest me. And the only thing I'm thinking about is, Lord, I don't want this to make the news. I'm out of office at the time. But remember, once you're an elected official, you're still always an elected official. 2 years before that, I had got my first OWI, and it made the news. So I'm building up a track record that this dude is just not, this guy is not the guy we thought he was. And so I'm going through all of this, and I'm sitting here struggling, and I'm trying to determine, who am I? Because I lost sight of who I was. Now, if you all can't tell, hopefully you can, I try my best to be a man of faith. Not religion, faith, and spirituality, because I think doctrine is different from spirituality. But I try to be a man who, I want to treat people the way they treat me. And I'm going through all of these things, and I'm praying. And then there are certain things that are coming that the Lord is giving me, saying, hey, you forgot who you were. Meaning I became State Representative Jason Fields. Not that was something that I did as a job. That's who I became. So my life became the political strategizing, the connivingness, the hustling. It became that. And the more I became that, the more I lost. Hey, you're a decent human being, man. You're a guy who, when people need help, you show up. That's who you are. This other thing, we don't know we don't know what's up with that. And I'm in my parents' house, you all, and I'm stealing and fighting change just so I can go to the liquor store. Like, I'm scraping up, like I'm that low. And then things start to come to me. And because for the sake of time, I want to just continue to keep going. I start studying, and I'm in and out of detoxes and rehabs and all this stuff. And I'm searching back to, what's the formula for success and failure? Because there is one. And regardless of what you do or where you're at, what I've come to learn is that the technical things, regardless of what industry, we can always learn the technical stuff. What do you do? Promotional. You can learn that. You can, if you're good, teach someone how to do that. Where everything starts for all of us is your mindset. And even then, it starts before that. And so as I started studying and researching, who am I? What do I need to do? I came up with this, what I call formula for success, that everything starts with What do you value and believe about yourself? What do you value and believe about the world? What do you value and believe about other people? I'm a very metaphysical, so that I believe that your thoughts create energy. And so if you value and believe that you are a decent human being, a good human being, a successful human being, then hopefully you're thinking about that. You're thinking about, what do good human beings do? And granted, I'm making this very similar, very easy, but this is what I teach kids, young boys and young girls, that what you value and believe starts there. So let me give you the example when I talk to young kids, particularly teenagers, and particularly African American young boys. If you value and believe that money is the only thing that matters to you, you're going to think about that. Now, you can think about it negatively, you can think about it positively. Money in and of itself does not have any characteristics. It takes on the characteristics of the person that wields it. If you're evil, your money will be evil. If you're good, your money will be good. So if you value money and you value that, that's all you value, that's what you will think about. If you value that you're somebody, a good education, then hopefully you'll think about what good students do. And if you think about that, then you will commit to some actions that make that a reality, that make that an energy. And if you commit to the actions, then you will experience that. If you value and believe that you are a smart young African American teenage man, then you're going to think about what those smart young African American teenage men do. Then you're going to do it, and then you will experience. Now, it works in the negative too. If I think that I'm no good, and this is where you see a lot, and this is not cultural based, but this is just teenagers now, when you look at the demographics, if most of them are being told, you're not going to be this, you're not that, you're not good, you're just like your mom, you're no good mom, you're no good dad, if that's all they hear, then that's what they think about. And if that's what they think about, that's what they'll act on. I'm no good. She said I was like my dad. He ain't worth nothing. So I'm not worth anything. So now I'm going to do what those people do, and then I'll experience it. And this is where I started to go, I have to change my mindset. I have to change my mindset, because everything starts there. If you study a number of leaders, and I've studied Jack Welch, Cleopatra, Abraham Lincoln, Winston Churchill, one of my favorites. If you study their mindset, you'll see how things lead to success. And more importantly, you'll see how they dealt with adversity and moved forward. So if everything starts with my mindset, then I have to change my mind. I have to look at, what do successful people do? Or I have to get back to that, because somewhere in my journey, I lost it. And so in 2016, I had my last drink and I met my wife. And it seems like that when I sort of came out of it. Now, is it because of my wife? I'm a firm believer in Proverbs 18, verse 22, and it says, he who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord. Now, I can make the argument that a lot of good stuff happened to me after I met her. Is it her? I won't say it's not just because I'm recording this and she'll see it one day. So I'm smart, guys. But I do understand that when I look at my life and I look at some of the things that I've accomplished, she was there every step of the way. So one of the things that I found interesting was the ability to form good habits. There's a book called The 5 a.m. Club. And I read it and I started doing it. And I got to tell you, the first 20 minutes of your life, first off, they say you waking up at 5 a.m. is one of the most efficient, optimal times for you to get started. It sets your day. And he breaks it up into 20-minute sections. The first 20 minutes, you meditate. The next 20, I believe you commit to some form of 20-minute exercise. And then the last 20, you do some sort of self-improvement, some sort of growth, where either you're reading or you're enhancing something. And so after I started doing all of this stuff, I started to notice things started to be a little bit different because of my mindset. I wrote 6 books. Got married. That's a picture of Latasha there. I was hired to be a co-host of a radio program. Started a foundation and a leadership company where I go and talk about leadership and consulting and training. After I changed my mindset, after I really did some inventory and said, okay, let's get back to who you are. Let's get back to the beginning. What is it I value? What do I believe in about myself, about the world, about you all? Case in point, when I came in here, on my way here, I noticed the energy of you all. You all have good, very good energy. And you all made me feel very welcome. And you made me feel like I'm a former president of Madison Region Economic Partnership. We're an 8-county organization that does economic development. And I come to towns and villages like this, and immediately I felt at home. Like, you know how hard that is for people to give you that? I mean, I felt more at home here than places that I hadn't been in my home state. And it was something about what you all bring. Now, here's the precursor to that. I had to make up in my mind when I was going to come here, whether if I didn't see enough black people, was they going to be tripping or what? Was I going to get pulled over? I don't know about Plainfield. What they got going on there? I'm driving down the street looking for people of color like, huh? You see a few sprinkled here and there. But then I noticed, is that a fear that I'm putting? Do I value that fear, or do I value, hey, I'm in the right place at the right time because Tasha, for whatever reason, the universe said, hey, this is what should happen. So if I put more energy and value that versus the fear of the unknown, then I'll experience. And so what did I experience? Just a good community. I mean, and you all kind of have that Midwest thing. We're huggers. We're down to earth. We meet you, and it's like we've known each other for a while, and that's warm. And you don't really appreciate it until you start going other places, particularly the East Coast. And so for all my East Coast people, you guys are rude as all get out. Midwest people are nice. You know, when we walk down the street and see each other and we give you the head nod, you get it back. On the East Coast, they just look at you like, what's wrong with you? And so after I started changing my mindset, I started realizing that I have the energy and the power to not only control my destiny, but to manifest it. One of the things that led me to my current position, or the position that I'm transitioning from, the CEO of Madison Region Economic Partnership, after I stepped down in politics, because I went out, I was in politics, I was in office from 2004 to 2012. I lost my 2012 election to the lieutenant governor. Again, good kid. But I went out on a sort of a crappy note, man. I mean, what most people remembered was, hey, here was a kind of star that kind of fizzled out. And so in 2016, I decided to run again. And I won. And I was nominated for leadership conferences by both Republicans and Democrat leaders, worked with 3 different governors, both Democrat and Republicans, and I think built up a decent reputation to where Jason is one of those guys that regardless of what aisle you sit on, what side of the aisle, you can talk to him and you can work with him. And that was the reputation I wanted. Black Switzerland, I joke around and call everybody. I'm only here to get stuff done. You all say that other garbage for yourselves. You call me when it's time to do work. That's when I'll show up. The camera stuff, all that, I don't do that. That's not for me. That's not exciting to me. I only want to be effective. And so had that decent reputation, and it grew. So after 2016, come back, had a good time. Remember your name? Susan. Had a good time, Susan. But then said, I came back to reprove, to sort of reinvent myself. Came back and it went well. I'm done. And to my wife's dismay, I said, I think I want to run for the chief financial officer of the city of Milwaukee. Grueling, decent campaign. Out of 80,000 votes, I lost about 800. Right. The goal was, once I become the chief financial officer of the city, then I would run for mayor of Milwaukee. Now, my wife was not feeling any of this. But I lost, and so now we're sitting at the apartment, and she's a woman. She's my wife. She's like, look, I love you, but you won't just be sitting around here. you better figure something out. And so I applied for this position to become the CEO of Madison Region Economic Partnership, which leads me into the next transformational deal of adversity that I had to go through. And this was that leadership sucks. Leadership sucks, man. Nobody tells you all that stuff. They all talk about, oh, we're leaders and 40 under 40 and phenomenal. Yo, this is garbage, man. There's some days where people are trifling. Human beings can get on your nerve. You know, the conversations you've had, sir, 17 times, and these people still don't get it. We've talked about this. You know, well, Jason, I don't understand. What don't you understand? You make phone calls, you set up meetings, and hopefully you generate revenue. And so, one of the reasons why I wanted to pursue my PhD in leadership is because I think that leadership, as much as it's sexy, it's all that, I don't think a lot of people understand it. And I definitely don't think a lot of people tell you the truth about leadership. I'm not the one that says leadership is great. No, leadership sucks. And there will be times where leadership is like babysitting. And the emotions you gotta deal with. And the freaking people, good Lord, the people drive you crazy. And so I wanted to study this from an academic point of view. I didn't want to just be talking about leadership because I had quote unquote leadership positions. Now, I'm gonna throw a few things at you because I think they're cool to say and I want you to hear them. I was on my way up here and I'm constantly listening to things, and this is the best definition of leadership that I've heard today. And it happened to me today. I used to say leadership is like influence, you know. If there's nobody following you, you're just another person taking a walk. That used to be my go-to. Now I think it's different. Jim Collins said today, leadership is when and if people follow you when they have the freedom not to follow you. Because outside of that, that's just power. And some of us don't understand power versus leadership. If you really want to know if you're a leader or not, would the same people who are under you follow you if you couldn't fire them? That's position. That's power. That's not leadership. And so as I got accepted to run this 8-county organization, move from Milwaukee to Madison, get hired by a board of 35 people, which includes mayors. I know that's way too many people. It's way too many people. And believe me or not, we had to increase it from 28 to 35 because the federal government came to us. I still hold some. I'm hurt by this because we dealt with the federal government, the EDA, and we were looking to become an economic development district. They said, well, Jason, you have to get 6 more board members. And they have to be elected officials. Now, I'm an elected official. I don't like other elected officials because I know elected officials. That was tough. And so we had to increase our board. But when you look at these things, hired by 35-something people who may not know what economic development is. And so now I come in to run an organization, 8 counties, 1 million people, and great organization, wonderful organization. But my first fear that I had to get over, the first value that I had to get over myself, going back to what do I value and believe about myself? I didn't know if I was good enough. I mean, I'm cool with a lot of people. I know a lot of people. You meet me, I'm a warm kind of guy. We'll probably hit it off. But did I have the skill set to be effective? Right? That's a different ballgame. And I'm not one of these people that like to get in and just charisma my way through stuff, right? No, I like to know and be effective because that's how we're measured. And so my wife said something to me. She said, Jason, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the call. I know, right? That's why I had to go to PhD school, because I can't lose that right there. Yeah, so she said, right.
That's biblical.
It is. She said God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the call. Meaning, whenever you're going through stages and adversities and levels, and it goes back to all the technical things you'll learn. You can learn that. Now, I'm not saying it won't be hard or easy, but before you even get to the technical mindset or the technical knowledge, the person has to have the mental faculties and the willingness to either do it or not do it. No excuses. Excuses are tools of the incompetent used to build monuments of nothingness. Those who use them usually specialize in nothingness. No excuses. So either we're going to do this or not. If you don't have that mentality, it's not personal. It's just you don't have the willingness to want to be better. And it's not personal with people, but it's just there are times where we've all dealt and you will all continue to deal with people who, believe it or not, they just won't have it. Not that they can't, but the fear and the comfort of being stuck in place is comfort. It's familiarity. If I don't have to get good at technology and using AI, or we have this self-defeatist attitude, I'm not good at technology. What's the difference between something being good and hard? The time you spend on it. So Tasha tells me this, and I sit back and I think about this like, man, I've been a stockbroker. I've helped manage $100 million. I've made these lists that people are on and all that jazz. Let me get back to what do I value and believe about myself. So I'm running this organization. I inherit this team. Good people, great people. I think we ran into some burnout. And unbeknownst to me, the organization had never finished in the black out of maybe once out of 9 years. Unbeknownst to me. My first 2 years, we finished in the black. The second year, we get to a point where we're $430,000 in the black. My next year, I'm $430,000 in the hole, and I don't know how the hell I got there. Now, adversity. Because now board members is this the right person? Not personal. I thought I bought myself some time and grace because the first 2 years, but made some decisions, and not necessarily wrong decisions, but we had some people that reneged on contracts. You've all been there. It affects your pocketbook. It affects your plans. And now it's tough. I'm sitting on my couch and what's your name, sir? Waz. I'm sitting on my living room couch and every day is hell, man. Because I got to deal with board members. I got to deal with staff, people who are unhappy. I got to deal with the political people who are seeing weakness and smell fear. And I'm sitting here like, man, last year I was $400-some thousand in the black. And I've had some I've been through some stuff, right? I've been through enough stuff. I'm sitting on my couch, and I can't breathe, man. I don't know what's going on, Waz, but it's tough, man. My heart and chest I'm sitting here like, oh my Lord, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. And again, I don't want to be over religious to you all, but it's just me. I go, Lord, I need help. I need you. Because I'm lost, man. I don't know what to do. And like that, something says, Everything's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be okay. And then I'm having these conversations, and this is where it starts to get real. So I'm gonna walk you through some of the conversations I'm having with God. You're like, Jay, didn't you ask me for this job? You wanted to be the CEO. Yeah, I asked you for it. Did you think it was gonna be easy? Yeah. Yeah. If I can be honest, yeah. Who wants to go through this crap? Yes, if I can be honest, I wanted to come in here and be a rising star and not face any difficulty. I didn't want to have to consider what do I need to do if I have team members who I have to let go. I don't want to face that. I didn't want to do that. I love these people. Well, Jay, so you wanted to just come, say you wanted to be a leader, and not deal with what leaders deal with. That's what you wanted me to do for you. Yeah. That's not how it works, Jay. You've studied leaders. Name me a leader that went through adversity. Name me a leader that was that 10? Name me a leader that went through any adversity, and that adversity didn't make them the leader. Yeah, but we can bypass that. We don't need to follow that model. So now I'm sitting here and remember, as a leader, as a person that deals with adversity, your job is not necessarily the organization, it's the people that you lead. Now we start to get into empathy and what I call thankful leadership. But in order for me to get there, I came across this. And I do what I always do when I go through adversity. Because there's a phrase that what you did before, if it worked, it'll work again. And every time in my life I went through adversity, the same formulas and process have helped me. I started looking at books and things. I started looking for messages that will come out that will get me. I started looking at things that, if I'll go to Barnes & Noble, this book will jump out at me. I start looking for messages that I know God will go, hey, tap into that. And so I tapped into this book, audio book, because I'm not necessarily an avid reader. I'm a professional peruser on the internet. By Don Miguel Ruiz. And he said, we all make 4 agreements with ourselves, or we all make agreements with ourselves. And normally those agreements that we made with ourselves dictate how we function and go through life. So in order for us to be better and get better, we have to make 4 different agreements. And the 4 agreements was, the first agreement, be impeccable with your word. When you say you're going to do something, do it. Because what happens when you don't? You lose credibility. And then it weighs in on you if you're a decent human being. And then the second one, don't take anything personally. Now that's hard. Look, I can see you all. You should see all your faces. What's your name, sir? Bob, you're like me. You're ready to roast some people up, man. Bob, I see it on you, Bob. Bob hears my mama. What? But that's very hard. It's very hard to not take things personally, because here's what I took personally. When I first got to this organization, these individuals didn't have pay raises. They didn't have a 401k. They were on furloughs. So I came here, I'm new, and we implement all of that. And then when I started to lose certain things, and again, nothing was, I think, malicious, right? It's just a part of the course. Things are being said. And here I am going, wait a second. You people had crap before I got here. You didn't have a 401k. There were no pay raises. You've got a pay raise every day I've been here. There was no insurance stuff. There was no, you can come and go as you please as long as you do your work. And you guys got the audacity to sit here and be upset? The nerve of you people. I'm taking that personally, man. Because I'm sitting here going, yo, you guys you had nothing. But how arrogant and cocky is that, right? sitting here like, you guys had nothing before me. just cocky. But I had to internally look and go, what am I doing as a leader that's contributing to that? And is that about me, or is that about just something that they feel in a reaction to things not going well? I shouldn't take that personally, because you have the ability to either let things affect you or let them not affect you. All comes back to our mindset and how we deal with adversity. The third one, don't make assumptions. You all heard it. I don't think I need to explain it. When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. Ask questions. And always do your best. So when I started, after I read that, what happened? My mindset changed. Then I started going, okay, let me look at all of this. And it brought me back to this term what I call thankful leadership. And thankful leadership is this, in a nutshell. Be thankful for everything. I tell my team members, when you have a crappy day, you all know someone that's going through worse stuff than you. Think about that person, because it will put stuff in perspective for you. Quick story, then I'll move on. A good friend of mine I grew up with, he was having, he needed to have a heart surgery and kidney surgery. And I was trying to get a group of us guys we all went to kindergarten and high school together, trying to get us together. He calls and says, Jay, I'm sorry I can't make it. I have to go to the doctor. And my immediate reaction was, he's calling me, telling me he's sorry. I bet you anything, he would be more than willing to be in my place. He has to get a new heart, a new kidney, and he's calling me to apologize. So I started going, man, when I'm going through stuff bad or that I think is bad, look at other people that I know in the city, in the nation, in the world, and be thankful that I am where I am. Because there's always somebody who has it worse. And then I started looking at, how do we get better? How do we get over adversity? I'm a hip hop head sometimes. I do this blend of hip hop and Christianity. just flow with me. But I looked at this and said, I'm not gonna run from the pain. I'll run towards it. I'm not gonna run away from the problems, because we all have a tendency to, when problems come, adversity comes, we tend to back off or bury our head. I said, no, I'm gonna run straight to it. It forces me to be innovative. It forces me to look at, okay, if we need budget cuts, how can we get budget cuts? How can we be effective in generating more revenue? Do I have the right team members with the right skill set in the right place? So let's embrace the struggle and face the hardship and appreciate the fact that without these hardships, you all, we get better. Think about all the hardships and things you faced. If you didn't have them, would you have grown? Odds are no. So now, instead of running towards that, now my mindset and my spirit is, okay, let me appreciate and be thankful that I have an opportunity to conquer this. What I've learned for leaders, again, is, for me, it's regular gratitude practices. I wake up every day on my way here, because I'm doing a lot. I was tired, right? The thought of, okay, I got to drive to Plainsville, it's 2.5 hours. And again, mindset, wait a second, let me turn this around. I have the opportunity to go meet people I've never met and bond and make connections and run my mouth. Right? I'll get to do some stuff nobody else is getting to do. And so now, every day I wake up, I'm like, hey man, this is another day. And then promoting open communication with my team members. I'm always, listen, one of the ways we deal with adversity is you have to be honest to come and talk with us. And I'm very if I'm screwing up, you have permission to say, hey, I'm screwing up. I'm not one of these people who feel like we all have to walk on eggshells, because if we do that, then we're not going to get better. So we have to have a no BS kind of policy, and let's hold each other accountable. And then inevitably you always have people who will be against all this stuff. I had one person that said I talked about God too much. And you know, I get it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to turn anybody into a Christian. I'm not sitting here saying let's all go to church. I'm not, but I do believe there's a higher power, and that when we have the opportunity to reflect on that, we should. I don't force it on anybody. And when you do that, you can look at, am I being resistance because I'm fearful of something, or because I just don't want to do it? So let's reframe those resistance issues. Again, you can go to case studies, but I want to talk about this, and I'll end on this. So I was the former CEO and president of Madison Region Economic Partnership, which is an 8-county economic development organization. I was just brought on as the chief operations officer for the first Center for Black Excellence and Culture that's being built. We've raised over $30 million. And the reason why I'm excited about this is because now it gives me an ability to be part of the solution, where we will look at research and programming that helps people move from just surviving to excellence and excelling. And I think that's now at 50, I'll be 51 at the end of January. You get into these stages of your life where you're going, what's my life all about now? And part of that mission is, when I look at my adversity, the realization that I didn't go through this just because I had to go through it. I went through it because hopefully I'll be there for other people when they face adversity, and help guide them. So this is a little bit, you all will be hearing about the center, and I'll make sure we stay in contact. I also plan to probably come back up here just to hang out with you. But when we talk about adversity, be thankful for it, because without it, we wouldn't get stronger, we wouldn't get better. And that's what develops real leaders, because we all know leadership sucks. Thank you, everybody.